Hey everybody, I just very quickly wanted to talk a little bit about the Homeland Season 4 finale while it's all fresh. I just got through watching it, and it's not what I've done, it's what I got in return. We're going to get into that pretty in depth in a little bit, but first I want to tell you about my lunch yesterday. So I went to Uno's with a friend of mine, and usually we talk about Homeland at the office Monday mornings, and he came up to me and said, "Did you see it?" And I said, no, I didn't, because it was just on my DVR. I never clicked in my head that it was Sunday night. But I asked him to tell me a little bit about his impressions of the episode over lunch without giving anything away. And he explained to me that it was a little bit of a letdown for him. And they opened in Washington, and it doesn't deal, right away with the bombshell from season 11, where, of course, Carrie's about to take out Hakani with her own sidearm after convincing Quinn not to detonate his pipe bomb hidden in the sewer grate. But then she does what she does, and she just, goes pure instinct. She pulls out her gun, and of course she's stopped by Khan, who points out that it's Dar Adal in the back seat. So she's shocked, and I was kind of hoping that the episode would pick up right there, and they would somehow get into it in Pakistan, but it does pick up back in Washington. So I know after the last few episodes, this one was definitely not a letdown for me, but it was definitely pretty subdued, which I thought was appropriate. The last few episodes being, very, very action-driven, a lot of really good action scenes. The scene where Saul is being talked down when he's in the garden, and he has the gun, and he's ready to end it. And Carrie, of course, tricks him, which... I just love Mandy Patinkin when he goes all out and he's just screaming at her over the radio. But it's the Game of Thrones formula for me, where it's the penultimate episode. Usually on Game of Thrones has the big reveals and has the big battles, and then the last one is picking up the pieces and has a lot of great character moments. I thought this episode of Homeland had some pretty good character moments. It's a romance that I feel like either I've been blind to, or maybe the writers are just kind of squeezing it in now. I'd like to see your comments on what you think about it. But Quinn and Carrie haven't clicked for me, and as an item really up until this point. And Quinn makes it quite clear that he is ready to give up his career, and what we've learned is his life is basically killing, to be with Carrie for a shot at just being with her and living a normal life. I don't know that I'd watch the show if it was Carrie and Quinn go to IKEA and pick out a bedroom set. Although, my friends do know that I would watch a show called Mandy Patinkin matches up his dress socks and folds them. I would buy the DVD box set of that. Whatever Mandy Patinkin's doing, I'm on board. The guy is just a tremendous actor. I just love his screen presence. And whenever he's on screen, I'm definitely paying attention. When it's just Carrie and her mother, or Carrie and her sister, and they're talking about the baby or whatever, it's definitely a good time to check your texts. But when Saul is on screen, it's a real moment, and it's something that you really want to pay attention to. Speaking of Carrie and her mother, that storyline was definitely boring for me. I didn't really care about her mother. It's not why I watched the show, to see what Carrie Matheson's backstory is. I think it's interesting that she has a half-brother, and I'm hoping that they maybe develop that. Maybe he can become a player at some point, but I have a feeling they're not going to bring him up again, and that's the last we see of him. The parts with, Carrie trying to still come to grips with motherhood, I was really hoping that when she went on the road trip, she was about to take the baby with her. I can't actually remember the baby's name right now. I will... It's on the tip of my tongue, but the thing is, I know that they did a baby casting call where they asked for little girls who looked exactly like Damian Lewis, because they really nailed it. She's got the eyes and she's got the hair. She looks just like him, which I'm not sure how they did that, but it was pretty impressive. But I thought it would be great if Carrie had actually taken her with her and had actually gotten to spend a little time with her, and maybe, I don't know, just accepted more of the fact about how her life has changed and how she is a mother now. But of course, at the last second, the sister says, "Oh, she probably shouldn't go. Babies and road trips." And Carrie's like, "Oh, okay." And then they get the kid out of there. I thought that was a little bit of a, a little bit of a cheat. It was a little bit of a dodge for me. I would have been more interested if she had the baby in the hotel room with her, and she was forced to really, be a mother, which is what she should be doing all along. But she got out of it again. I got a couple pages of notes here on this, and there definitely was a lot to go over. Just between Carrie and Quinn, though, when she calls him and he's just looking for an answer, and she's just like, "Don't pressure me. I'm self-destructive." I just never felt the chemistry between them, but it really seems like Quinn was reaching out to her, as a last resort. So when she says, "I'm no good for anyone," it's basically, it's not you, it's me. He took it the way I would have in that situation. He changed his number and he went off to do he went dark. He went to do the Black Ops for Dar Adal. The man who a few episodes ago, he had his hands around his throat. And of course, he knows too that he was in the back seat of the car. He was in the back seat with Hakani, which I thought was, or did he tell him? No, he didn't know at this point. That's right. Carrie didn't tell him at this point because he knew that he would go after him. That's true. I'm thinking about it now, and I don't think he found out by the end of the episode. Although the fact of the matter is, Carrie doesn't even know what she knows. She doesn't know what his plan is. At this point, she just takes that very straight line, very rigid approach, which this is wrong. It's anti-American. You can't be doing this. If you're not with us, you're against us, sort of thing. Which of course Saul goes the other way with it. Saul's much more pragmatic. After accusing Dar Adal of sedition, he kind of sees reason, and he realizes that Dar Adal is using Hakani to obviously keep. He's saying that he won't harbor terrorists in Afghanistan, but we'll get to that in a minute, because that is the crux of the whole episode. So she warns Quinn away, correctly noting that she'll mess it all up, and Islamabad was a black hole that he wants to stay out of. He doesn't want to go back. He's trying so hard to take that part of himself that we learned from, I think it was the German ambassador previous week, who he had a relationship with, that's all he knows, and he keeps trying to stop, but he always goes back. He always goes back for another mission, which was something that I thought was played really well by Quinn, but it definitely reminded me a little bit of the end of that movie, Hurt Locker, where Jeremy Renner, he's trying to grocery shop, and he wants to be a part of life with Evangeline Lilly, his wife, but he just can't do it. He has to go back because it's what he lives and breathes, and that's obviously how I see Quinn, but that's how Quinn sees himself as well. After they deal with the father's funeral and they kiss, and I'm trying to remember if it was for the first time or not, but there's a long pause, and you can tell that they're both thinking, is this a bad idea? Is this what we even want, or are we too career driven to give whatever this would be a chance? And I really liked the long pause, and of course Quinn tells her to think about it, and then immediately gives her no time. I think he calls her 2 days later, and he's like demanding an answer, but he should know better than anyone that you can't pressure Carrie, you can't change her mind. She's going to do what she wants to do. If she wants to pull a gun out on Hakani in the middle of the street in Islamabad, that's just what she's going to do, and you're not going to stop her. So I like the scene where she's sitting in her dad's room, and she's opens the drawers, and she's kind of looking through his things. I thought that was a nice beat there as well. They've done a lot to humanize Lockhart, and we find out that he's apparently officially on his way out. Last season he was the big bad, and I love seeing Saul lock him in a conference room. Did I lose my awesome background? Hold on, we need a little. We need yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. The green screen's coming from Amazon, so we'll do a little something better next time. But I definitely feel like they've done a lot to humanize Lockhart when he made the very questionable move of opening the safe room door to try to save Farah. It was I can understand where he was coming from, but I don't know in real life what would happen there. It's a really tough judgment call. One I would obviously never want to be responsible for making. But you've got to believe that you're putting everyone else in the room at risk by opening the door. I don't know how strong the door is. Could Hakani have, somehow broken it down? I don't know. But I have to believe that by opening the door, he put everyone else's lives at risk. And you really couldn't get a real firm, feeling that Hakani was a man of his word, although Dar Adal takes him at his word. So, and just speaking of guilt trips, Quinn's colleague tells him, there's a 20% chance we're going to lose more guys without you, which again, that's something that Quinn has to live with. And he says, I'm out. And, I have to think that if Carrie had given him a different answer on the phone, he might have not gone at all. But of course, without Carrie, he says, I've got nothing else right now. I'm going to go back to work. And he does. So now the new guy has to deliver all those letters, and you might have missed it, but the top letter was addressed to Carrie. I guess it was pretty obvious thinking back, but I liked that he wrote a letter to her in case, of course, he doesn't come back. And it's probably going to tell her, how he feels, of course. But I wonder how Carrie would process receiving that letter. I think he's too important to the show. I don't think that letter will ever be opened. But you never do know. I mean, I knew for sure Saul was going to come back. They weren't going to kill him off. But is Quinn expendable? I feel like without Brody, he's become obviously the other, central male lead aside from Saul. But I don't see them getting rid of him anytime soon. So I really don't think that Carrie gets a chance to open that letter. At least I hope not, because I very much do like Quinn. So, Dar eventually offers to give Saul his job back. And, he says, it's not what I've done, it's what I got in return. So I asked myself, what has he done, and what did he get in return? And the answer is that he reached out to Hakani and took his name off the kill list, which I'd like a little more information about, really, what Dar Adal's responsibilities are and how he has the ability to do that. And, was there anyone above him? Does the president know? And I mean, obviously they cut Lockhart out of the loop on that. But, can he unilaterally make that kind of decision to take one of the most wanted terrorists off the kill list and to basically make a deal with him? So that's what he's done. What he got in return was a commitment not to harbor terrorists in Afghanistan. And I had to rewind that and listen to it a few times because I was thinking to myself, does Hakani have the power to keep terrorists out of Afghanistan, or are we just talking about his crew? Is Hakani going to just keep his people out? I got the impression that Hakani wasn't specifically with the Taliban because it seemed as if, they were sort of united against them. I was a little bit confused about that. If you can help explain it, please do leave a comment because I was didn't quite follow that part. But apparently Dar Adal has the power to take people off the kill list, and he's done that for Hakani. And apparently Hakani has the pull to, change the political landscape in Afghanistan like that. So as a show of good faith, Dar gives Saul the tape, which is the only thing that Saul was really worried about. If anyone saw the tape of him as a captive, in front of that flag, I don't think he would have much of a career. And I think they described it as political collateral damage, I think is the way that they phrased it. And Saul phrased it as, he was taking on water with 2 torpedoes on his side, I think. Basically, he's damaged goods at this point. But without that tape, he has a chance to step back into his role as director of the CIA, not even as a station chief, and do some real good. So is it worth it to effectively give in to a man like Hakani, but with that you can do some real good? And it struck me as interesting because that's the exact same deal that Saul made with Javadi last season, or was it? I think it was in season 3. He had something on Javadi, which was effectively the what did he have on Javati? I forget exactly what it was, but he had dirt on Javati, and oh yeah, that's right, because he made all that money without his government knowing. And Saul said, you're going to work with me. We're going to get rid of certain people. We're going to get rid of that leader, and we're gonna change again the political landscape. So Saul's in the exact same position that he put Javati in, where Saul gets what he wants, and the dirt against him is effectively gone. But is it worth the cost? You see, in the end, I think Javati helped his people by getting rid of the general. I forget his name, but he had to make a deal with Saul, who was in certain ways his enemy. So how the turntables. So Saul agrees, and he takes the deal. And the last scene where Carrie sees him, just I guess hanging out on his deck, they must have been just talking about what the next moves were. They say nothing to each other. Saul just stares her down because I think they both know. Well, Carrie knows now, and Saul knows Carrie well enough to know that she's not gonna go along easily with it, and she's not gonna understand. They could probably explain it to her till she was blue in the face, and she's just not gonna get it. I haven't seen anyone change her mind very easily about anything, so I think they know at this point it's going to be very difficult to deal with her. And with the show as a whole, I feel a lot of the times that I'm surprised Carrie has as much pull as she does. I mean, if a man like Dar Adal has the clout and the pull to actually take people off the kill list and make these decisions and appoint a new director of the CIA, you'd think he could get rid of Carrie. I wonder if he has a fondness for her, or if Saul is saying don't mess with her. But it seems like if she's going to be a problem, they could get her out of there very quickly and just fire her. I'm wondering, especially with Lockhart on the way out, she doesn't have sway over him anymore, or the sway that she does have is now worthless. So I just wonder, this situation, how she maintains her position of strength, and she usually ends up on top. Even when she got locked up in the insane asylum, the mental hospital, she was behind it the whole time, effectively. And when Saul burned her to the Senate, she was in on the deal the whole time. So it seems like she's never really been that vulnerable, and it would be interesting to see her kind of being held more accountable. She can pull a gun out in a square, and of course Khan stopped her, but no one else saw this, and there's no consequences. It just seems a little strange to me. So what do we do with season 5? Where does season 5 pick up? I know one of the heads of Showtime got some flack for this episode because people were expecting another real action-centric episode like I was, but I appreciate what they did, and all in all, I liked the episode. I thought it was a good conclusion. It had a lot of good character moments. It tied some loose ends together, actually, and I got the answers that I wanted to get. What was Dar Adal doing in the back of that SUV, and what is Carrie going to do about it? And the answer is he's making a deal with Haqqani, and Carrie, we don't know what she's going to do about it. She doesn't like it, so she's driving away. And as soon as the jazz music bubbled up, I knew the episode was over and we weren't going to get anything else until I guess October, which is an awfully long time to wait. But I will be looking forward to it. And I hope that they do show what Quinn's doing while he's gone dark. And just less of Carrie and her mother. I hope that's not going to be a big thread because I didn't enjoy it. And I do hope that there's more, though, of the baby, because she's adorable. She's very, very cute. And that's it. So I'm looking forward to season 5. Let me know what you thought of the season 4 finale, and we'll see you next time.